Adopt. Oh, did you start it? Adopt, Don't Shop, a speech by Bria Ripley. An estimated approximately 6.5 million companion animals enter the U.S. animal shelters every year. Nationwide every year. I am going to talk about the importance of adopting animals out of the animal shelter rather than buying them through breeders or pet shops. The pet and shelters are looking for their forever home, and you could save their life. It is estimated that of the dogs that entered the shelter, 670,000 of them will be euthanized every year. The cats are in greater need. 860,000 of them will be euthanized every year as well. I have always been an advocate for animals. I love all animals, and my goal is to save as many as I can. I volunteered for rescues and other shelters for many years, and seeing the satisfaction of a dog finding its forever home is so great. My aunt has a horse rescue that isn't just a horse rescue, and to see people giving these animals who are going to their end a new beginning really warms my heart. To put the severity into perspective, I want you to close your eyes and think of your companion animal. Whether it is your dog, cat, hamster, bird, horse, etc. Picture them comfortable in your home on your couch and how they give the best snuggles and they know how to comfort you when you are down. Say you want to extend this part of your pet family and you want another addition. Now picture the animal in the shelter waiting for them to find their forever home. He's not a purebred, but he's so loving and so smart. He sits and waits for months and months to find someone to love him. That someone never comes along, and while he enjoys his short walks and occasional loving pet on the head, he wants more. Unfortunately, the shelter is getting full, and he has been here for a long time now. He hears the people talking, and he thinks maybe this is his chance. The shelter helpers don't look happy, but he is still wagging his tail and is excited for his walk. They lead him into a room and they give him some treats and pet him. They then stick him with a needle and he starts to feel sleepy. He never wakes up. He becomes another animal that we couldn't save because breeders are consistently adding animals to the world when we have so many that already need love. First, I'm going to give a little information about the different kind of animal shelters. I'm also going to talk about puppy mills and the problem with them. Lastly, I will cover why adopting from the shelter not only helps the community, but is much less expensive than buying from a breeder or pet shop. So let's start with the different kinds of shelters that are available. There are two different kinds of shelters, open admission and limited admission. While these shelters are very similar in a lot of ways, there's also some differences that should be pointed out. Open admission means that they will take all animals no matter what the situation is. This can be great in a lot of ways, being that if the animals are in an abusive situation or stray out on the streets, they will have a safe place with food and water and a way out of the weather. These types of shelters are usually run by the government, but some are private as well. The dangers with these shelters are that when they get extremely full, they are forced to euthanize the animals who have been there or who are sick to keep their doors open and available to people in need. Another danger of this type of shelter is that they may handle sick, fearful, or aggressive animals who are eventually euthanized rather than given a second chance. There's also limited admission shelters or no-kill shelters. These shelters strive to save as many animals as they can. However, the limited admission means that when they are full and don't have space, they turn away animals who may be in need. They will usually be foster-based, which means the animals have had some time in another person's home, and they are more well-suited for adopting right away. A lot of these no-kill programs are usually run by nonprofit rescue groups. It is important to remember that all of the people working towards the greater good of the animal, whether it's an open admission shelter or a limited admission shelter or rescue. Now that we know how the animal shelters work and what they do to help the animal who need home, let's start on the puppy mills. Puppy mills are the main problem for the number of animals that end up in shelters. There are an estimated 10,000 puppy mills in the United States. This includes both licensed and unlicensed facilities. An estimated 167,388 breeding dogs are currently living in the United States Department of Agriculture, a USDA licensed commercial facility for breeding purposes, this very moment. Some of these puppy mills are licensed and others are not. If they want to sell to pet stores, they must be licensed. Puppy mills are more worried about the profits that they can make off of the dogs rather than the well-being of the dog. They can be very large or small, but just because a puppy mill is small doesn't mean the conditions are necessarily better. Breeding parents typically spend their lives in cages and are bred every heat cycle, and when they are no longer able to produce, they are killed. Dogs in puppy mills usually live in dirty conditions and are not protected from weather conditions. They are generally taken from their mothers too young, and puppies that are bred in the mill usually have little to no veterinary care. And if they do, the owners will do it without anesthesia. Not only all of this, but the puppies are then shipped to other places in the country, and they can be held in small confinement for up to 12 hours without food or water. Now that you are aware of the horrible conditions of treatments of animals in the puppy mills, let's talk about how much better it is to adopt from the shelters or rescue in your area. Animal shelters and rescues offer so much more for animals you are wanting, and not only are you getting a pet, you are also helping your community and saving a life. About 25% of animals in your shelter are purebred, so if you're looking for a purebred, there are ways to get them besides puppy mills or pet shops who support puppy mills. However, as a dog trainer and author, Brian Kilcummins explains, mixed breed dogs are often healthier, longer lived, more intelligent, and more stable temperament than purebreds. This is due to what geneticists call hybrid vigor. Pets found in animal shelters are typically healthy and also offer lots of educational information at their residence. They have literature, ongoing advice, and training techniques that you cannot get from a puppy mill or pet store. When you adopt from the shelter, the fee typically includes the spay-neuter of the animal and all the necessary shots they need, but also a microchip, so if they get lost, the owners can be found. Breeders and puppy mills do not offer these kinds of things. The animal has also probably had behavioral evaluation determining whether they are aggressive, good with children, good with cats, or other dogs. This is extremely helpful when you are looking for a new pet because it can help you determine who is right for you, leaving less chance for the animal to return to the shelter. The most important thing to remember when adopting a pet is to spay and neuter. This is so important in reducing the amount of animals that end up in the shelters every year. To conclude, I have given a little information about the different kind of shelters there are. I have told you about why puppy mills and breeders are not a great place for animals. And I have told you why adopting an animal is so much better. Adopt, don't shop. Adopting is extremely important for our society and the lives of the animals involved. Remember that when you buy from breeders and puppy mills, that you are supporting the death of an animal sitting in the shelter waiting for their home. Adopt. If you can't adopt, foster. If you can't foster, sponsor. If you can't sponsor, volunteer. If you can't volunteer, donate. And if you can't donate, educate. Thank you.